The so-called Bathsheba syndrome, in a more symbolic and spiritual sense, refers to the moment when a person, after having been humble, dependent on God, or focused on noble values, begins to lose that essence after achieving success, power, or recognition. This idea is associated with the biblical figure of David, who, as a young shepherd, full of faith and confidence, defeated the giant Goliath with a simple sling and a stone. At that moment, David embodied pure faith, humble courage, and total dependence on God. However, as time passed, and now as king of Israel, David fell into serious errors. The most notable is the episode with Bathsheba. He saw a beautiful woman, desired her, slept with her, and to hide his sin, caused the death of her husband, Uriah. This moment marks a profound transformation in David's character. The young man who defeated giants with faith now abused his power and acted out of passion, pride, and control. From a psychological perspective, the so-called Bathsheba syndrome can be understood as a progressive transformation that occurs in people who, upon achieving success or power, begin to experience a profound shift in their perception of themselves, others, and the world. This phenomenon is exemplified by the biblical figure of David, the humble and courageous young man who defeated Goliath by trusting completely in God, and who later, as king, indulged in an act of abuse of power and excessive desire by becoming involved with Bathsheba. This syndrome is not clinically classified, but it functions as a psychological metaphor for a fairly common process that can be observed in leaders, public figures, business people, or anyone who rises to positions of great influence. Stages of Bathsheba syndrome, psychologically speaking. Humble hero stage, pre-success. It is characterized by internal motivation, reliance on values, or faith, connection with others, and a relatively modest identity. The individual usually experiences a strong sense of purpose, like David when he faced Goliath. The rise and construction of the ego. After success, the environment begins to reinforce the individual's self-esteem with praise, recognition, and authority. This can lead to what is known as ego inflation, where the person begins to see themselves as invulnerable or superior. Confirmation bias appears. You only accept the voices that affirm you, and dismiss the critical ones. The disconnection from the authentic self. Power can generate moral disinhibition, that is, a reduction in impulse control and a rational justification for previously unthinkable behaviors. In David's case, his desire for Bathsheba led him to ignore his own values, manipulating and committing a clearly immoral act. The identity crisis and the awakening of consciousness. In many cases, this type of fall generates guilt, shame, and cognitive dissonance, a conflict between what one has done and one's self-image. David experiences this when confronted by the prophet Nathan. His response is not denial, but repentance, which is fundamental to restoration. Key psychological concepts related. Power intoxication effect. Power acts as a disinhibitor, similar to substances like alcohol, reducing empathy and encouraging impulsive behavior. Corruption of character. Prolonged power can impair the capacity for self-reflection, leading to self-deception. Moral blindness. The individual rationalizes his actions as exceptional, deserved, or unnecessary, losing touch with his ethical compass. Conclusion. From a psychological perspective, Bathsheba syndrome is not just about a moral decline, but about a loss of personal integrity following success. It is a warning about how power and recognition can distort self-perception and values if one does not maintain a constant exercise of self-awareness, humility, and accountability. In short, defeating Goliath is only half the battle, not becoming him is the real psychological victory. Subscribe and we'll keep uploading content. See you in the next video.